Hi, this is Mrs. Nelson. We're looking at Illustrative Math for 6th grade. This is Unit 8, Lesson 16, Box Plots. The objective says I can use a 5-number summary of a data set to draw a box plot. We're looking at 16.3, studying blinks. 20 people participated in a study about blinking. The number of times each person blinked while watching a video for 1 minute was recorded. The data values are shown here in order from smallest to largest, or in other words, from least to greatest. I've already created a dot plot. It's kind of lousy. I apologize, the dots are all over the place. I have a pretty bad stylus. Now we're going to take this dot plot, that's what I want to say. We're going to take this dot plot and we're going to find the 5-number summary for that. So we already identify easily the minimum and the maximum. Now we need to find the median and then the first quartile and the third quartile, so the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So the data in this data table is set up pretty nicely for finding the median because you can see that there is 10 data points on the top and there are 10 data points on the bottom. So I can see that my median is going to be right here. But I have to take into consideration that that's between 14 and 16. So then that means that that median is going to be 15. Then I can divide the top data in half. So I have 10 data points on the top, and I'm going to count in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the other side. And you can see that my lower quartile and my upper quartile are going to be right there just because of how the data set is set up. The boxes are set up. So I see my Q1 or my lower quartile is 12 and my Q3 or my upper quartile is going to be 21. We can also see that on the dot plot if we consider how many dots there are and that we want to have the same number of dots on the left and on the right. So again, if I have 20 dot plots, that means I want to find a spot where there's 10 dots on the left and 10 dots on the right. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dots right here. And you can see that when we do it that way, we still come up with 15, if I had drawn a better dot plot, as my median or my Q2. And then we also have if I need to divide the ones on the left, I've got to have 5 dots on the left and the 5 dots on the right. So I've got a division right here. Again, if I had done a better job with the dots themselves, it would be a little easier to tell that that's at 12. And that's my Q1. And then I've got to do the same thing on the upper side. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots on the left and the right of my Q3. So that's my Q3. Now I want to take this data and I want to turn it into a box plot. And so now that I've identified where these numbers are, I can create the rectangle that is the interquartile range that represents the middle 50% of the data. So I'm going to make that rectangle right here, and I'm actually going to erase these other parts. Oops, it's erasing all of it. So let me draw that rectangle again. So I've got my median at 15. And I've got my upper quartile at 21. And then I've got my lower quartile at 12. And then these make the rectangle that represent the middle 50% of the data, or the interquartile range. So that's called the box part of my box plot, and then we're going to draw some whiskers on my box plot. I'm going to take a point that represents the maximum. So that maximum was 51. So that point represents my maximum. I can draw a line segment if I want to, or I can draw a little dot, and then I'm going to attach that back to the interquartile range, to that upper quartile. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the minimum. So the minimum was 3. So I'm going to take that and attach it as well. Again, I can draw a line segment if I want to. So that represents the whiskers part of a box and whiskers plot. So again, this represents 25% of the data. This represents 25% of the data, and 25% of the data, and 25% of the data. You can see over here on this far side, that data is pretty spread out. That's 5 data points, and it's pretty spread out. And so if you look on the lower end as well, that data is somewhat spread out, but you can see that our data is closest together right here in the middle, in this interquartile range. The middle 50% is where our data is typically the most alike, and that's what we want to study, is what does the data look like in this middle 50% in that interquartile range that's found in the center. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and label that as the IQR. That represents the middle 50% of our data. And that is where the data is most alike, where the variability is the least. Again, our objective was I can use a 5-number summary of a data set to draw a box plot. So we use the minimum, the Q1, the Q2, the Q3, and the maximum. Those are our 5 numbers for our 5-number summary. Thanks for watching.